Hi, John. Welcome to the Diverse Creative Podcast. How are you doing? I've got you up very early in the morning, as we've mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah, but good start to the day then.
it's a great start to the day. Thanks, Don, and thanks for having me. I really,
Oh,
really
it's
appreciate it.
such a pleasure. It's always nice to chat to a fellow muso and find out how everything is going on your side of the world because you were quite literally on the other side of the world to me.
I am.
There's like a 6 or 7 hour time difference between us, so early morning for you and late afternoon for me.
Yes, yes, but that's good. I'm good with it. It's a great way to start my day. Nothing I'd
I,
rather do than start my day, talking about music. So that's
I
good.
know, what a wonderful way to begin because I hear from Gina that your other career path is being an attorney
That is right. That is right. My normal day job is in fact being an attorney.
and that you would love nothing more than just to be a musician, right?
It's funny. I would if the opportunity arose, I would probably take it. That said, the flip side is I do like being a lawyer. There are sides of being a lawyer and sides to my personality that it really works. So, it kind of provides a balance overall for me.
I think that's really good. I mean, my podcast is called The Diverse Creative because I tend to be very diverse in my interests in life and in all of my endeavors, everything from music and art through to construction and, building and farming. So I totally understand the need for balance in life. And I do think it helps to keep the creative side alive when you've got something that really kind of contrasts that to keep the other part of your mind stimulated, you know?
It, I agree. I agree. And it's funny, the way you describe having these other occupations or these other interests that you do. I have found too with music, for me, if I just spend all my time thinking about it, I kind of get twisted around and it becomes overwhelming inside of my head and how I start to imagine things. And so I have found having other activities, whether it's work, whether it's that I do, helps out a lot. In a weird way, it almost allows it to, so I'm not staring at the music all the time. So
Yeah,
I can't agree more.
I've always found like when I'm creating anything that if I've got something that kind of occupies my sort of left hand side of my brain, the logical part of my brain, if I've got something
Yeah.
that's keeping that busy, the
Yeah.
creative flow is a lot easier and it just tends to come through, you know? It's almost like I keep the gatekeeper occupied by giving it
Right.
something
That's
logical to
right.
think about.
That's good. I like that. I'm keeping the gatekeeper busy. Like my gatekeeper is really busy. So the gatekeeper leaves the music side of me alone.
You see, and then it's cool because then the music side of you has got the room to play. It's like
Yeah,
while the cat's
that's
away, the
right.
mice will
I
play,
like
you know?
that. I like that. Yeah, because the gatekeeper would be it would be pretty aggressive and a pain in the ass if I had to apply it to my music side.
So you've obviously got a new music video that you've released recently.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really love the video. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful video and beautiful song. It's got
Thank you.
something a little bit Lady Antebellum about it, I think, you know.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And it's a really moving piece of music. Tell me a little bit about the video, how the filming of it went, and the song itself.
Yeah, so song and the song itself, as well as the entire EP, was just kind of it's kind of a sad group of songs. And I wrote them over a period of about 6 to 8 months. It's no secret anybody knows me. I don't sleep really well, and so when I wrote these songs, most of the time I do my writing in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. I've kind of given up past that point of like being frustrated that I can't sleep, and now I just go ahead and get stuff done. And so I was really working out these songs, and with Place for Me, um, it's just one of those songs that it's about saying goodbye to someone that you love very, very much. But I've always kind of described it as a perfectly imperfect love. In any love that you have with another person, there's always, a mountain of imperfections baked in there. And I didn't want to write this song about some perfect love or some glorious thing or that, something that you're really, creating a shrine to. It's more or less just like I'm not, all I'm asking is, will you hold a place for me? Like, I know this has been imperfect. I know I've been imperfect, but at the end of the day, is there just a little spot that you can carry, some memory of me, and that's and that's all the concept of the song is, and so I tried to keep the song very, very simple. When we were recording it, it's just acoustic. It's got a drum, just a little bit of drums, a little bit of bass, and then the female vocalist Autumn Traub. I reached out to her. She and I have worked together in the past, and she has such just not just a beautiful voice, but just her ability to find herself in the song and really make the song, come alive in a special way. And so she and I talked about different ideas of how we wanted to do it, and I'd kind of hemmed and hawed about, or gone back and forth about how I wanted to, maybe it was just padding some oohs and ahs and type things, and then, my other idea was to sing together, and she did that, and at first I was like, I don't know, and then she was like, no, 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 let's try it, and she was right, and she did such a beautiful job of kind of this, not even a call and response, but almost, just that simultaneous call and response. Yeah, it was just when I was sitting in the studio when she was recording it, because I'd recorded mine first, I'd recorded my vocals first, and was listening to her in the studio while she was doing it. I was just mesmerized. It was, what she was able to capture in that process and capture in the song that I had written, was truly special. So.
Yeah, she really does. Her voice complements yours beautifully. The contrast between her vocal range and yours is really, it gives me goosebumps, It's a wonderful
Thanks.
combination to have that
Me
contrast,
too. Yeah, it's
right?
it's it's crazy to have a song when you put it out there like that, and to hear someone else sing it in that way. When you say like, I was just mesmerized. I was absolutely, it gets kind of emotional sometimes when I think about, and how these songs came about, and where they're from inside of me, and to hear them come and become into something. It's yeah, it's special. And so you were asking about the video too, sir. I'm getting off track a little bit, but the video, there is a gentleman by the name of Ryan Koppelman. I met him a couple years ago. Really fantastic, filmmaker and videographer, and started doing work with him a few years ago, or a couple years ago. And for this project, I really wanted to that one. There's another video for the bottom, that just came out this past Friday, or that Friday before, I guess. And then we're going to film another one next Sunday. But the concept really and that's Autumn, the singer. She and I both, were in it, and was to keep it really, really simple, and to keep us always a little bit apart, throughout the entire filming of it. So. He did. Again, it's one of those things where I'm grateful to have people who are willing to put the time and the effort in for songs and things that I've written, and really put their emotions, their own storytelling into it as well.
And I definitely think the storytelling and the imagery in the song obviously complements the tone and the lyrics and the content of the song so well that his vision definitely aligned with the feeling of the music that you created and the story that you guys were telling.
Yeah, he
And
did.
it really is just it's subtly dramatic, with the candle light that appears in the
Yeah,
background, and
yeah.
like that the tones of color in that video are just so beautiful. Like as an artist, those color schemes, those sepia almost color tones really tickle me, that
By
they
the way,
really
he's gonna
draw me
love
in.
you saying all of these things, because he'll watch this, and he is such a master of his craft, and so obsessive about the colors and the lighting, and really just a beautiful production. I walked in there, and Autumn and I joke is that, the whole crew is set up. I think it was probably 10 to 15 members of the crew, and just as professional and wonderful and kind, and really we just I just walked around and did what he told me to do, and this was all their vision, and really did an amazing, amazing job.
He definitely did. Compliments, all of my compliments to him. It
Yeah, thank
really
you.
stands out. It's super professional. It has such a beautiful quality to it, and really just so perfectly ties in with the music you created. So, yeah, I mean, just well done to him, and well done to
Yeah,
you too. And I mean, it always helps to have a
thank you.
good director. Like I've found in doing whether it's photo shoots with people or whether it's filming music videos, that, if you don't have someone who's got a very clear vision, who really knows what they're looking for, it can become very challenging to co-create because that's what's going down, whether you're
Yeah.
singing with someone like you're doing with Autumn and creating that beautiful duet, or whether you are filming the music video. If you don't have a kind of ability to communicate to each other what your creative vision is, it becomes very hard to actually turn it into something that you love. And I can
Yeah.
tell that you love that video and that you're really proud of the
I
song and the video. And
I am.
you definitely should be. And yeah,
Thank you.
finding people to collaborate with that really know you. And I mean, as it turns out, you guys have obviously collaborated on a few things. You're now filming a few videos with the same director. Um, you clearly have a connection and a shared vision. And
Yep.
I'm very, very excited to go and check out the other videos that you're releasing because I think they're going to be equally as astounding.
Oh, I hope so. It's fun too, is that, what I really appreciated about the process of making that video too is when I first brought the songs to him, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'd really like to do videos for these 5 songs on the EP," which is a pretty big undertaking for me and for any independent artist. Is making videos is not, an easy process. It's kind of laborious when you have to get everybody organized and you have to get the songs out there, and it's certainly not free. And all of these things you really have to capture and think about, and it's been a process. And so I sat down with him initially and sent him the songs, and we met again, and he just wanted to know about the songs, like where did they come from me. And he just kind of absorbed it, wrote a lot of notes down. And then after that, I was very, very hands off in the design of the videos themselves. I gave just my ideas of where the songs come from me, and that's it. And after that, I didn't look at the clips of it at the time. I didn't want to know what it looked like at the time. I just kind of took a trust fall, and I was like, all right, this is now your space. So like when I'm recording and we have an engineer, I don't tell the engineer what to do.
Yeah.
You're outside of my space. So I stayed in my lane, and he really did an amazing job. So
It takes a huge amount of trust because, I mean, obviously, as a songwriter and as someone who is writing these songs from what sounds like a fairly personal space,
yeah.
it's a huge thing to say, here's this infant I've created, and now I'm going to give it to you and let you put your magic and your
Yeah.
creativity onto this.
I will tell you, I
And
was more than nervous when I got the first try. Like when he sent me the video, I was a little nervous because I was like, well, I haven't seen this, and I sure hope it. I was so afraid of how it would be. Also, and the idea being on camera is not something I'm not usually on camera, and so that was also its own little piece to have to see yourself in that space as well, which was kind of an odd feeling as well.
I mean, it is something for people to consider when they watch music videos created by musicians, is that we are musicians, right? We're not actors.
Nope.
Um, at least most of us are not. And
Yeah, I'm not. I
we
know I'm not.
definitely me neither. But we specialize really in creating music, which at least when it starts out as something personal and private and very much in our own space, in our own comfort zone, like you said, in your own lane. And then the furthest we usually take it is we get on stage and we perform it for people. But that's still not the
Right.
same thing as acting out a
No, it's
scenario.
not.
It's very different. And really it's quite a challenging thing to put yourself into that space when you have no understanding. It's not like any of us come into filming music videos as trained actors,
Right.
right? So it is quite a process. And I think it's a really valuable thing that this topic is coming up so that when people go and watch these music videos from yourself or from other artists, that they realize that we stretched ourselves to create these things, you
Yeah.
know?
And
And
you're right. It's a huge stretch. It's absolutely a huge stretch. And I think that's also kind of one of these huge stretches too, with the advent of social media and other things like that, where the expectation of, in particular, musicians to be visually present all the time, I think is such it's such an overreach. And it, I mean, that's why I love the videos, because at least you can create within the song. But I feel like with so much social media, you get stuck into that. It just I watched other musicians that I know and myself, I've gone through it as well. And right now I'm kind of on a social media hiatus, ironically, during my album release. But the it's just it just stretches you thin, and you're constantly looking at all the other people doing all the other things. And frankly, being an artist is it's not easy. It's just not. It's so personal, and it can feel so exhausting at times.
Mm.
And so that's why, like, being able to do something that's just a music video and not, oh, I've got to do 3 reels today, or I've got to do, all these other social media things. I really like the idea of kind of, I'm a little older, so kind of going back to the way it was when I was growing up of just a music video, right? Just
Yeah.
something that it is what it is. It doesn't have to be all the behind the scenes details of an artist's day-to-day life. So,
I'm glad that you brought that up because I also find the social media thing pretty exhausting. And
yep.
I mean, like, I think about what music was when I dreamed of becoming a musician and what I saw it to be at the time. And I think about what it is now. And it really is a different animal now. I
It
mean,
is.
we have to be so many different things all of the time. And we are constantly letting people in through social media. And it's almost like we're obligated to do this thing. But it
Mhm.
is being creative on its own is quite a personal and fairly exhausting journey because you really have to delve
Yeah.
into yourself, pull out the pieces, shred them apart, and stick them back together again in a cohesive way that can help other people relate and connect to their
Right.
emotions. I mean, that all by itself is quite a thing. And
It's
now
that
on,
that by itself, you're right. That by itself is a huge thing. I mean, think about the number of songs you've written. You've written them and then you're like, no, that doesn't work. Like, and
yeah,
the constant revision and the constant sense of, yeah, does that work? That doesn't work, and that feels right, but there's something still not right about it. That in and of itself is a monster to engage in. Just that.
yeah, I mean, it's a massive task actually that I think people sort of almost especially now where we've got AI and we've got people who are like spewing out AI songs, they don't understand really the human journey and
Right.
the human kind of like sacrifice of creation, right? I mean, like if we had to compare it in a way to like birthing a child, there's trauma involved, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's the most wonderful gift to be able to bring into the world, but there's trauma involved in that experience and it's exhausting. And any creative endeavor is so like that. And
It,
it's so valuable that we give that energy to the world. And, I really like the fact that we can talk about these things and hopefully raise that awareness for people.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, like, every time I go to a show and I watch other musicians play, even if it's not my favorite song or not my favorite band or not my, I love the fact that there are people out there creating. And I think sometimes it just gets lost of what that process is like for people and how absolutely intimate and needed it is as humans to have that. And I think it just kind of becomes commoditized so easily in the context. And this is where I go to social media where it started to just simply stated, like we were talking about the process of creating, it started to hurt me. So for example, if you post something about your art on a story, right? You can see who sees it. I don't know if people know this. I assume they know
Yeah.
this, but
I
you can
hope they know
see,
that.
yeah, I hope they know it. You can see who saw your story, right? So let's say you put something of your music or your art on there. You can see who watched it, who saw that clip. You can also see who liked that thing and the rest who did nothing or didn't engage with it at all.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, whether you mean to or whether you're not, that affects how you feel about the creative process, how you feel about the creation, how you feel about this overall experience. And for me, it just became exhausting. And so
Yeah.
that's why I just, it was just a step back. And I got to tell you, I've been happier for it, and I've got an opportunity. I'm now working with Paper Garden Records. Signed with them in March, and one of the questions they asked me was, are you going to open up your your social medias again? I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it come June when we release the entire EP, but it might just be like for a few days just to let people know it's out there, and then I'm gonna shut it right back down again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that social media and like you said, that sort of like whether we consciously are seeking validation for our creativity or not. Like you said, to have people ignore it or watch it and not actually even bother to hit a like button. Like it's such a simple thing to give
Yeah.
artists positive feedback so that we continue to feel encouraged in our creativity. And it's something that we can't help as human beings, but
Mhm.
need that community feedback, you know? And I mean, especially because art and creativity and music, especially in storytelling through music, was such a fundamental part of how we evolved as a species and as a civilization. There's
Yeah.
some part of us that knows how vital that is actually to human experience and to sharing human experience. That all we're looking for in shared return is like, oh, that was nice. I like that. And when we don't get that, it does drain us a little bit more than we would like to admit sometimes.
Yeah. And I hope other artists again, and it's hard because on the one side, the social media has value in that it opens up avenues to introduce you to people who may not have otherwise met you or otherwise otherwise heard you. You got, I see you got somebody on the side. I've had a couple of those already. I've got my youngest keeps like popping in over, and I'm kind of giving him one of the hold on a second.
Yeah, well, you see, you had to be a parent to spot that. But yeah, my one of my
Yeah,
little ones is like, "Mom, Mom." I'm like,
yeah, if it makes you feel any better, I did a I did a podcast a little bit ago, and my oldest son just walked in. He wasn't paying attention. He didn't know what I was doing, and he just walks in and burps. I was like, and so they ended up editing that out. Then I had another one. My youngest son had, he's getting ice out of the ice machine. So yeah, I get it fully right there with you.
well, let me just check what she needs, and then we can get back
Yeah,
on with
take your
this.
time. Yeah.
What's up, pup? So, is he in your way?
No, he's in my county. He's curled up comfy and then he scratched my teeth, back of my teeth.
Okay. Is your bug movie still playing?
Yeah, because it was not very interesting.
Okay. Well, go back. Let me do my interview, and then I'll come and hang out. Okay. So this is the other thing, actually, is that all of us as musicians, and we're also working other jobs where we're
Yeah.
doing a bunch of different things. We're running social media, we're trying to advertise albums, record them, film music videos, and then on top of that, we've got families, right? And that is quite something to balance, right? Like I find for me, whether it is like doing podcasts or whether it's going out to perform live or taking the time to record, since becoming a mom, that obviously has got a lot harder to achieve, right? How do
Yeah.
you keep that balance?
Oh goodness. Well, it's kind of one is to include them as much as you can. I think that helps. Although I have two teenagers, I have a soon to be 16 and a 14-year-old, and thankfully they're gracious about it. But at the same time, like when I showed them the video, they were like, "Dad." Like, I'm pretty sure they turned like six shades of red, and their dad's made a music video. Like, what are you doing, Dad? But overall, I think it's just something, and it's something that I get to enjoy with them because it's just something of who I am. And they all have various Orange Animal merch. They have, sweatshirts and t-shirts that they'll wear to different things. And the biggest trick is the time. And I found it as they get older, the time becomes harder and harder to navigate as their activities, especially the older two, as their activities become bigger and more prominent and require more time. It's that time commitment because obviously you want to spend time with them.
Mm,
And so that desire to spend time with them erodes some of the time you have for, the creative side of things. But I also look at it and I keep thinking to myself, like, it's all part of it. It's all part of that beautiful process that, you know, it's 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 added stuff you got to take care of, but at the same time, like they're all part of it. They're all part of, and I think that's the one thing that's been good for me is that all three of my kids have actively known what I do, give me grief about what I do, about being loud in the house all the time. Because I am kind of loud in the house in the time when I'm
So
playing my
funny that they
guitar.
give you grief.
I get yelled at all the time for, to turn.
So obviously life throws you curveballs, right? Whether it is kids or tech or, the challenges of balancing work and
Right.
art, you got to roll with it. And it does all flavor the experience, that's
You
for
have
sure.
to.
Yeah. And I mean, I find
It
often that the
does. It
challenges of life,
does.
the challenges of life actually give great content, and like, I don't know if you were, I mean, I'd assume that you've been writing and creating music for like a fairly long period of time. How long have you been a musician for?
Oh, gosh. I got my first guitar when I was about 10 or 11. And it's just been one of those things that's been with me throughout. I played in a band from when I was about 12 through 16. And then after that, from about 16, and it was one of those things that I started it because I needed it. Just a lot going on in life, and music has been with me. I listen to music nonstop and have been playing guitar nonstop during that time. And I'm not some great guitar player by any stretch of the imagination, but I've always been playing guitar, and I'm always, been noodling around with music all these years. But I hadn't really put it back together, excuse me, until about 2016. And I made the decision. I had these songs that I had written, and I decided, well, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna put together a band. And and I'd made a promise to myself, if I'm gonna do this, it's not one of these where I'm just gonna, practice occasionally, with the band and whatnot. Like I really I wanted to do this. And that's another thing that, you go back to talking about your kids. Um, I want my kids to always know that, life it's a long thing. Hopefully, if you're lucky, it's a long thing. And music doesn't belong in a space of your teens and 20s, right? Like this notion of you play music to be famous or to make it or something else like that. It's like the idea of, and I still chuckle about it, but I spent my 40s as we played more and more shows and more people came, including people I know professionally. And people have been wonderful and gracious, and the friends that I have met along the way and in different cities and opening for other bands, it really is something special. And I, when I think about it in terms of being a dad, I think about it and I think for my kids, whether it's music, whatever it is in their life, I just hope that they just keep going down that road and get to connect with people in those special ways that hopefully life affords you those opportunities, because that's the part that I look at. And I'm so very grateful when I look at like Bill and Adam, my primary band, my drummer and my bass player Bill and my drummer Adam, that they've been with me for almost a decade. To play these songs that I write and to get into these adventures with me, to go places and to go cities and things that we really have no business doing. Um, it's just special. And I try to it's hard to translate, but I really want to translate that to my kids, that as they get older, like, go, don't stop. Don't look at your life as having a defined period of when you can and cannot do something. Just keep going, right? Because that's the beauty of it. That's the hope of it. So
To impart to your children. And I'm trying to do something very similar. I'm trying to, like, by continuing to pursue my art and my music as I became a mom, and by continuing to do
yeah,
it with them and taking them on tour with me and taking them to festivals with me, I'm trying to show them really that life and your passion for life, in whatever form that might take, is important and valid and
it
deserves to
is.
be, pursued, and deserves to be important to you. And I hope that they're having a great adventure along the way, like your bandmates. I hope my kids are
Yeah.
having a great adventure along the way. Um, and I really hope that when they look back on it, they'll feel like, you know, they came along, and mom was someone who was doing something that mattered to her and something she really cared about.
I,
Um,
I have no doubt they will. And I think that is absolutely amazing that you are bringing them on that journey with you, because that is something that they get to see such a special side of you in that process, and such a meaningful side of you that is beyond just simply being a mom or a dad. They get to see that very unique space. Yeah, I love that you're doing that. That's amazing.
Well, thank you, and well done to you too, because I mean it is quite a thing to have a family on board while you are pursuing something like music, which is already something that takes so much personal dedication to hold on to.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
do get made fun of plenty though. I'm not gonna pretend that like it's all it's all like, Dad, you're doing your art and your love. Congratulations. There's a lot of me being made fun of. I'll be very honest. Where they make fun of me singing too loudly, or when you're trying to work out a song, sometimes it doesn't quite sound exactly the way the final product does. There's a lot of squawking involved. So I catch grief plenty. But
I mean,
I also enjoy that. I'm not gonna
I,
lie.
I think that's a really wonderful thing, actually. Like I know with me, I mean, my kids are four, right? I got twins and they're 4 years old, and I have these moments where I play them a song and I'm like, what do you think, girls? And I know I'm getting like the most honest response. And sometimes they'll look at me and they're already like, nah, mom, nah. And then there's
Oh
other
yeah.
times where they're like, I really like it, mom. I really like it. And then I'm like, yes, I'm onto something here.
The if you haven't had this happen, and if and when it does happen, it's one of the coolest things, and it's only happened to me with my youngest, my 8-year-old. He will all of a sudden he'll sing Orange Animal songs. Like he will sing a song, and all of a sudden out of nowhere he'll just start humming either the melody, or he'll start singing lyrics. And then you realize, like, man, I've exposed him to way too much of me. But it's also kind of cute, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I know that song. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest, I've had moments where they'll like sing the catch line of a
Oh
song,
yeah. Oh yeah.
or they'll kind of go like we'll be listening to other music and they'll go, we want to listen to mom's music. And I have this moment of like, oh,
Yeah.
even if they're the ones in the world that love it the most, that for me is enough. Anything after that is now a bonus.
Yeah, I fully agree. Fully agree.
Yeah, and it's such a special thing. But I want to go back to Orange Animal. I was
Yeah.
curious. Obviously, Orange Animal is a unique band name. And I mean, please tell me, where did Orange Animal come from?
It's funny. I get that question a lot. It's nothing. It is absolutely less than nothing. Orange is my favorite color. That's that. And the only thing that it does mean or matter is that when I wanted a band name, I wanted a band name that effectively meant nothing. And I wanted a band name that didn't automatically force me into some type of genre, and where people see it on a name and think, oh yeah, that's the kind of band they are. I just wanted a band name that people look at and go, don't know what they do. Um, and I just did that because, again, I have no delusion, but I also have other songs that are far heavier, and just I love the ability to just throw on the Les Paul and get heavy and play rock and roll. That's the other side of all of this. And I love the fact that within under the banner of Orange Animal, I've had the luxury of doing all of those things and without having to make any changes one way or the other, right? It's all under Orange Animal. So that's really where it came from. I just wanted some musical flexibility. And it's been good. It's really been good having that. I know, most of the music I wrote during COVID was heavier. It was more rock and roll based. And in part, I was just doing it because I wanted to entertain myself. I was stuck in a basement all the time. I couldn't play out. I couldn't play to anybody else. And so I was just looking for ways to entertain myself. And so really the songs that I wrote during COVID were less like this EP is the insides of me. My songs during COVID were just me, yeah, doing my best to just rock and roll as much as I can. Kids and all these other things, little kids during COVID, and not knowing what was going on. So that's really what So going long answer to a short question is it means nothing. And it's just my favorite color, and I wanted something after orange. and animal happened to be the thing that I landed on. I had some other ideas, but animal's the one. Animal's the one.
I mean, I think that's fantastic actually, because I also cannot tie myself to a genre. People say describe your music, and I'm like, do you want an
Oh,
essay?
horrible.
Because how on earth to describe your music when you're not like, when you're just creating purely from yourself, you're not tying yourself in or trying to be something or someone. It becomes really hard to say, well, this is what it is. So I like the fact that you left yourself with the room to play and the room to be flexible. And I mean, aside from watching your latest music video, I did go back and listen to some of your other albums and listen to some of the tracks off your other albums. And I was like, really, I was really like pleased to see that diversity, you know?
Thank you. Yeah, I
And
appreciate that. Yeah, there's definitely some diversity back there.
yeah, and I mean, like, tell me about those other releases. Tell me, give me like a short little bio on those albums.
Yeah, so the first album was really the first songs that created Orange Animal, where I had said, these songs I want to do something with them. And so everything at that time, even, I found my bass player on Craigslist. I found this recording studio on Craigslist. I was really piecing it together because I hadn't done this kind of stuff in years. And I was really having to acclimate myself to what music looked like in 2016, as a, just about a 40-year-old guy who, had a lawyer, a 40-year-old guy who's putting it together. And so, but we did this and it really came out special for me. It's funny listening back to that first album, all the things that I would do differently now. But also I love kind of the rawness of it, that it was so naive in its creation. And I like that. I like that a lot. The second album is when, No Song, Sick Hearts, where I got a chance musically to expand out a little bit away from just kind of blues and blues rockish stuff where the first songs came from. The second ones, there was some more of the jazz influence that was coming around. And it was interesting too in that process for me is as we as a band were getting out more too, and just kind of growing and developing musically and growing and developing in from a show perspective and where we were going. And then after that, the song, COVID hit not too long after that, and we were excited about some shows. We were heading out to the Viper Room, and that got canceled at the time due to COVID. We had rescheduled and came back out and played the Los Angeles shows later, um, but those songs, during COVID again, where a lot of them were just me writing for me, and just to kind of soothe me and just to keep me sane, and really kind of just playing my guitar by myself down in the basement and again just playing and having fun. And then after that, trying to think, then Still Frames came, and again that one is it gets more personal. The last ones have, aside from there's one little track that I released called Sweet Heartache that's less personal and more rock and roll. But between Still Frames and A Place for Me Now, those ones are just very personal to me, and where I kind of focused back on some of the stuff that started all of this, which was, how I'm feeling and things that I've experienced and things that, I want, things that I miss, things that, just to kind of reflect on parts of my life. That was, again, long answer to short question.
I mean, it's good though. It's this is kind of what I'm looking for, is like I'm here to know more about your music. Like obviously I have taken the time to go and listen to some of it and I've taken the time to look into you as a musician. But for people who are watching this, this is where they're getting to know you, right? And this is where they're getting a bit of a taste of what they might expect if they were to listen. And they're gonna catch a bunch of variety there. Everything from, like you said, rock and rolls and blues and a bit of jazzy stuff through to like the more personal stuff. And what I really have to draw people's attention to is like you have got a beautiful vocal. Like you've got a really beautiful tone to your voice and it's very easy to listen to. Like you've got one of those voices that you could just like
Thanks.
listen to, which is lovely. And I mean, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a really amazing community of musicians, and some of them are fantastic guitarists, and some of them are amazing vocalists. But you're really you come across as pretty well rounded. Like you might have been saying earlier that you're like not the greatest guitarist in the world, but you definitely have a really nice rounded sound between your guitar work and your vocals. And is there anything else you do musically, or is guitar and vocals like your main thing? Just checking.
Yeah. No, guitar and vocals are my main thing. And but you were talking about, being around other musicians too. This is something that if I look back at this process and this journey over the last 10 years, that has been almost just magical for me, and has been working with all these other musicians. I cannot emphasize this enough. None of these things that have been fortunate enough for me to make are because, I mean, yes, have the ideas been bouncing around in my head? Yes. Do I go to my bandmates with essentially the songs? Yes. But that's it. And what Bill and Adam, so I don't speak drums. I'll just say it that way. I don't speak drums. I try. I make loud sounds and yell and try to express what I'm trying to get across. And then Bill translates. Bill is so musically strong. None of this exists without him. None of this exists without Adam. What those guys add to making these songs what they are is huge. I really, and then I'll even say this, the musicians like Autumn is a great example. Or I've worked with a woman by the name of Taylor Lamborn, who's just a brilliant singer as well. Um, the string sections, and you'll hear more of it. I'll send you a link to I don't know if Gina sent you a link to the entire EP. I'll send it to
No,
you
not
just so you
yet.
can hear the entire thing. But the string section, piano, I don't have music theory. I don't know music theory. There's so much music. Like if you told me to say hit a particular note on my guitar, it's going to take me a minute. I do everything by ear, and so it's
I'm exactly the same.
and it's it's fun when like when we were in the studio and I was working with the violin, violist, and the celloist. They go by Opus 216 and they perform all over the place. Amazing musicians. But they were asking me questions to like figure out what I wanted. And so all I could do is just hum and yell and sing. And then at some point I walked out there, they're like, well, what key is it in? I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go walk out there and play my guitar. And it was like it was like me like a monkey figuring out like trying to explain physics to a physics professor. Like, but thankfully and generously, instead of mocking me, which they had every right to do, they were just like, okay, okay, got it. And then they were like, how about this? How about this? And just amazing. And those are the kind of things where it makes me emotional when I think about the middle of the night, writing the songs in my head and singing them and hearing them and kind of replaying them over and over and over again inside of my head, and then to sit there and now hear them with the collaboration of all these other creators who put their stamp on it and they put effort into it, and they put their time into it, and they put their something special into it, and all of a sudden I listen to what was once in my head, now hear that. It's just there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in the world that I can even relate it to. Yeah, I just got the vinyl copy of the album the other day. I got the test copy and listening to it, and I gotta tell you, it was just emotional. It was emotional having the physical copy of and knowing where it all started. So and what all went into it. So I got off track again.
No, I mean, I think you're perfectly on track. Like, I know for myself, when I recorded my first album, I actually like cried when I listened to it after it was recorded, because those songs that you write on your own in what I call the artist hours, which for me is between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., right?
Yep.
That's like artist hours, man.
Yeah.
That's where I work best. And when I went and listened to those songs that I'd written, that I'd had with me for years, finally recorded with all these different layers and all these different people's inputs and amazing pieces of lead guitar, and like one of my ultimate South African like musical idols came and featured on two of the tracks, and he put in sitar and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And I went back and I listened to the recorded work, and it was just like the most emotional experience for me because it was like you finally get to see the fullness of something that was just a little seed when you started with it. And now it's grown into this thing, and other people have added such magic to it. And so you really like, you feel like something has come out of you and is now more than you. And that is such an incredible feeling, you know? So I totally relate.
It is. And this is where it goes back to, some of the thoughts I've had about social media, and you were talking about AI and things like that, that this is the part that scares me the most about AI, or just the pure, and I know there's always going to be a monetization of it. I know this. I know there's also, the business side of things and everything, but this is the part that worries me, is that I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and not a musician, and he was just saying, some of these AI things are making these great songs. And I started thinking, I was like, the problem is they can replicate certain things. They can replicate certain sounds. I get that. Um, it is so important for creators to create. And not just for hoping they get fame and fortune and can, live on, live some amazing, glamorous, glorious life, which everybody obviously, has dreams of. But it's that creative process. And I think it's so important on so many levels, even at the most basic. Every musician having these moments of, like you were describing, the moment you heard all of it together, and that emotional, I think that's it. That's the magic. It's not selling out some major coliseum. That's the magic. That's where it all lives and dies. And it's that communication, even if it's with 3 people or 5 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. That's the magic. And that's what worries me about the way things are progressing, is it's going to dishearten so many people who need that, and who can bring that to people around them, even if it's 5 people, even if it's 3 people. Those people need that same process to be human and to be connected, and to be what I think makes the magic of all of us being here. And it worries me. It worries me a lot that we're gonna lose that, and we're gonna lose sight of that, and it's gonna discourage and stop that. So maybe it's
I
impossible
to
to stop. I hope it is. But it worries me.
No, I agree with you. And I feel that because I mean, I think as artists who are working in this industry in this day and age, we feel that disheartening already, you know, even in ourselves. And we've got stamina. We've practiced this stamina to keep
Yeah,
going for more than a
that's
decade, you
right.
know. And for you think about artists starting out in this career and how people are going to say exactly that to them. Oh, but you know, AI could create that, but better. Like, it's not about that. Like, it's so hard to find the motivation to do this. And there's an element of, yes, we can all go and sit in our garages or our basements, and we can write our songs, but there's that element of growth that occurs in your soul as a human being when you start working with other musicians, when you start trying something new, when you go into a recording studio. There's growth that occurs in the songs. The collaboration is spontaneous and so vital to our human experience. And if we never went there because we were already discouraged, that wouldn't occur, right? And I think you are so right to have those concerns. And I know, I mean, for yourself or for me, like if we hadn't had those moments, we wouldn't know they existed. And I hope that other artists out there will watch this podcast and hear these words and know that those moments are so soul fulfilling and so important that it's worth keeping going for, regardless of what anyone says to you, regardless of what the industry looks like a year from now or 10 years from now, that this is part of being here and being human, and it's a part of the reason to be alive. So pursue it.
100%. Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I that's it. And I even look, the fact that you and I are sitting here on a Saturday talking, right, all the way across the world about something that we both mutually love, right? I think that says it all. I mean, how else? What would have otherwise been the advent that you and I would have been talking on, for me at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning? That's all part of the process to me. and that's part of this magical, I'll just say it sounds hokey, but it's been a magical journey. So
No, I think it's accurate. And it's this exactly like you're saying, us doing this interview wouldn't have occurred. Us having this conversation, which has been a fantastic
yeah,
conversation to
thank you.
have,
It
has
has.
really, it just shows again that it's human connection, you know?
Mhm.
Music pushes us to connect with other people, and connecting with other people is the whole kind of reason why we are a society, a civilization, why we still exist to this day. If we had all just been the kind of species that sat on their own in a cave, we never would have gone anywhere, right? We never would have survived long enough. We are a species that needs human connection, and
Mhm.
music allows you to connect with another human being on the other side of the world, or, you know, in a totally different era, even.
Oh
And yet you
yeah.
can
Oh,
still
that's a great
connect with their
point.
soul, right?
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. So this has been
And this,
fantastic.
with all the push on AI and science and computers, and again, these wonderful creative things are also happening. Musicians and creators can't be overlooked because that human connection is, like you said, that's what binds us. That's what puts this thing in motion. And without it, I fear the outcome won't be won't be good. I'll just say it for lack of a better, all this creative stuff, and the only word I can come up with is good. It won't be
I swear
good.
I write words for a living.
I swear. I do this professionally, musically. I do it as a wordsmith, as a lawyer, and all I can come up with is good. Way to end the interview, John.
Well, honestly, though, on that note, this has been really good. Like, really, really good.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to staying in contact and watching where your
Yes,
music
same.
and where you as a human being goes. And thank you for taking the time to share your stories and connect with me as another human being, and really like continue to do what you're doing. It's making the world a better and more beautiful place.
That sounds good. Thank you so much, and you too. And I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute privilege, and it's nice to know you now.
It's nice to know you too, John. Thank you so much. John Ramsey from Orange Animal. What an amazing conversation.